I'm Pat Want. I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer who served in Colombia from 1963 to 1965. I was among the first group of women that Peace Corps sent to rural Latin America. This was in 1963. Before that, the men only were sent to the villages in Latin America, and they did not send women into the rural areas. Women were sent to urban areas, but to do nursing and educational TV and teaching, etc., but not into the rural areas. And so we were sent with some trepidation, and we were carefully taught about how to dress, and we should never, for example, wear pants or jeans. We always wore dresses or skirts. We also were we were encouraged not to drink any alcohol in public, because then that would mark us as a woman of questionable repute. And actually, it turned out very well for, I think, all of us, as far as I know. It was a very successful program. And so I worked. That we were really tried within 3 days after we arrived in the village. We were staying in the home of a highly respected older woman, and she and her family, with adult children, protected us, if you will. But we were invited by the male secretary to the mayor to come to visit him in his home and to meet his mother. So we were trying to get to know the village officials, and so we said, of course, we'd be happy to do that. And so we would go after lunch. So we went over to his house, which was equivalent of a couple blocks away, and we got there, and he was there playing poker with a male friend. And we said, well, we've come to meet your mother, and she's busy, and she'll be here a little bit later. They said, would you like to sit down and play poker? And we said, no, we don't play poker, obviously picking up on a signal. And they said, well, maybe you would like a little aguardiente, and I said, which was the local alcohol, and we said, no, we don't drink. And they said, oh, you're gringas, you drink, you just won't drink this low-class Colombian liquor. You want scotch or whiskey. We have whiskey. Would you like some whiskey? And we said, no, we don't drink alcohol at all. And they said, well, yes, we expect you to have some alcohol, and we expect you to play poker with us. And the next thing I heard, which I thought I heard in Spanish, I was still learning Spanish myself, I thought I heard him say, you will stay and play poker because you are a prisoner of our house. And I turned to my partner Jenny, who understood Spanish better because she had studied it in university. I said, did he just say we were a prisoner of this house? And she said, yes, he did. And I said, we're out of here. And so we went quickly out the door and went back to the place we were staying, told the family. They said, you stay here, we'll protect you. And after that, the word was out that the gringas were not going to go to bed with the local folks, the local males. And we didn't drink, we didn't smoke, we didn't wear pants, and we weren't going to play poker. So.
Mi nombre es Jeanette Cannon. I was in the Peace Corps in 1963 to 66, having extended in Caloto, Colombia. And I worked with an Italian beekeeper, learned how to do bees, among other things. Delivered a baby in the hospital in the middle of the night. Worked with the hospital staff in suturing machete wounds, and in general had free reign of activities for all the people in my town, which was a very small town, and anything they needed, I stepped up to the plate.
My name is Sandy Stevenson. I was a volunteer in Colombia. But the ride home was, their sort of tradition is that the ride home was that you stopped at every bar on the way to get a shot of aguardiente, which was their licorice-flavored liqueur.
Fairly potent, I imagine.
Well, like a cognac. Well, it was made out of sugar cane, and it obviously wasn't anywhere near as nice as a cognac. And so we were stopped there one time, and I think he was just blitzed. And we were driving back, and he was driving a Jeep, and we were driving on the wrong side of the road, going about 60 miles an hour, and there were these two headlights coming towards us. And I'm just about ready to jump out of the Jeep. And the two headlights came for us, and they happened to be two motorcycles, and they split, and they went around on each side, and I about had to clean out my shorts. Fortunately, I was probably a little bit drunk, and so it didn't occur to me that I was really in danger until the last minute. I'll never forget that ride in the Jeep. And I always remember you go into every bar, and there was, at least at that time, there was always a picture of Jack Kennedy behind the bar. They had no clue who their own president was, but they knew who Kennedy was. And that's because the priests kept telling them, es católico. He's Catholic, you know. So they really promoted it. Most of the priests were all Spaniards.
That's interesting. So it wasn't so much necessarily because Kennedy was the great visionary in the States, because he was Catholic.
He was Catholic. They thought and they knew there was a connection with the Peace Corps, but the pictures of Kennedy were in the bars before we ever got there. There was no picture of the Colombian president. There was a picture of Jack Kennedy behind the bar. I'm not sure that's where he would have wanted all those pictures to be, but it was that was the real link. The community, it was obvious that he was extremely well perceived in South America. I think I got a lot more out of it than the Colombians did. I think a lot of Peace Corps volunteers feel that way, that they got more out of it than the host country nationals did.
Hi, I'm Marilee Byruther. I served in Colombia 1964 to 66 in Bucaramanga.
I'm Carolyn Hawkins Denton, and I served in Colombia from 1964 to 1966. We did our training in Lincoln, Nebraska, and then we had the 1 month in Puerto Rico for the outbound training. We went to Colombia in January of 1965, and I was in a nutrition project and served in 2 locations in Colombia. The first area was more tropical in the department of Valle de Cauca, and the second place was in an upper elevation in the department of Boyacá, where it was much more overcast and cool.
Hola, my name is Betsy Bucks. I was in the Peace Corps in Colombia in 64 to 66. I worked with an agricultural nutrition group, and somehow I returned to the States with the desire to keep on going. I ended up getting a master's in Spanish, and my daughter ended up going in the Peace Corps and marrying a Paraguayan, and it's just been a glorious celebration of the Peace Corps and the Third World Gold.
My name is Lee Arbuckle, and I'm here in Montana. I served in Colombia, South America, 1964 to 1966. Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
My name is Carol Ford, and I was in the Peace Corps from 64, and I extended to 67. I was in Chinacota, Colombia, which is near Cucuta, Colombia, also very close to the Venezuelan border. I had 4-H clubs, and we ran a rabbit project, and it was just an absolutely life-remembering experience.
Thank you very much.
I'm Leidig. I was in Colombia, PINA 2 project from 1964 to 1967. I extended a 3rd year. After that, I was with Peace Corps staff. I worked a training program for Tonga 2.
I'm Carol Sharmer Tobash. I was in the Peace Corps in the years 1964-66. I was in Colombia, FAO PINA. We were an agricultural nutrition program. I was stationed in Bocholema in Norte de Santander, Colombia. And we worked with the campesinos to try to get them to build gardens, and had a wonderful time. I learned more than I gave. Thank you.
My name is Dexter Cirillo. I served in Colombia, South America, 1965 to 1967. I was in a public health and community development group, and one of the memorable stories was during my first month of arrival. I was awakened at 4 o'clock in the morning by this huge shout outside my window. I had no idea what it was. It was the local newspaper boy announcing El Espectador, which he did thereafter for the next 2 years every morning at 4 a.m. So I never had to set an alarm clock or have any trouble getting up. But because I was in the tropics and it was so hot anyway, we did almost all of our work from 5 in the morning till about 11. Then in the middle of the day we were inside, and then we worked again from 3 until 9 o'clock at night.
Jim Cody. I was in Colombia in 1965 to 1967, and I was in the town of, or city of, Cartagena. Beautiful place to visit. It still is, and everybody should visit it. Thank you.
Ann Kerfman home, and I'm living in Vancouver, Washington. I'm 567 Columbia group. We were health and literacy.
Hi, my name's Ann McLaughlin. I live in Manchester, New Hampshire. Served in Colombia, South America from the years 65 to 67. My program was health, and I served in Chiquinquirá, Boyacá.